Can you recall for me when you first met David Hume?
It must have been a few months before we came, because we came here in, I think, July of '65. Anyway, as some of the faculty here used to remind me that I was second choice. Hume had tried to get Norm to come, and Norm came for one visit a few years before all this, and then but then he said no, he was not coming, and he said, "Why don't you ask Dick?" And Hume said, "Who?" So he said, "Yeah, he's all right. He'll do a good job for you."
What was the decision like to move here?
I think it was pretty easy. You know, you always want to have your own show, if you can pull it off. Hume was very charismatic, like Norm. They were kind of unique people, and Dave was a lot of fun to be around, just the same as Norm. So it was easy for him to recruit people, you know. He would turn on the charm, and he would show you, you know, his dreams when he was developing here, and by this time he had one of the best kidney transplant centers. They were very interested in liver transplants, and so it looked like it was all going to fit together very well.
And at that time, did you talk heart transplant?
Oh yeah, absolutely. It was like, could you do one tomorrow? Hume didn't have very much patience. So that was in the works. I mean, that was the plan. Was as soon as things got set up, and we'd continue to refine a few things and make sure the team was in good shape, and you know, we'd get the. But Hume was a good catalyst, and he got the. You know, the question was, where are we going to get a heart? And he got Jeff Mann, who was the chief medical examiner for Richmond at that time, to say, "I got no problem with this. You know, you have a accident victim, and the neurology department says he's brain dead. Go ahead, use the organs." And he pointed out that there was a statute in Virginia which allowed. We weren't too concerned about this because it was going to be, the family's going to give permission for this once they know that the person's dead. So, and that was, they had always adhered to this in their kidney transplant program, using cadaver kidneys. Well, we also got interested in, what if we didn't take the beating heart out? What if we took the heart after they had taken the kidneys out? Whether we could resuscitate the heart and it would function normally. And so in a few instances we got permission from the family of the donor of the kidneys to also take out the heart. Somewhere in the institution is a little movie. We had a it was like a glass tumbler that the heart could be suspended in and perfused and warmed with type-specific blood, and it would start beating, and it would beat so loud that you could hear it out in the hall. So we thought, you know, this might work, that we could transplant it. Dick Cleveland, who's now deceased, was my first resident here, and he was afraid that if some of this science fiction stuff got out, it would adversely affect his career. So those little movies that we took were tucked away somewhere. But it did look like the heart could not only be transplanted from a brain-dead cadaver, just taking the beating heart out, but that it might even be useful after kidneys had been removed, or after. And at that time, they were. Hume was absolutely strict about the heart had to come to complete arrest. So, but it was still a possibility that we could do this.
Take a beating heart.
Take even a non-beating heart
I see.
and revive it. I remember shortly, maybe it was 6 months or so after I got here, I was asked to give a talk to the Virginia Medical Society. And so to talk about research in heart transplant. Gave them a little spiel, showed them a little movie at the end of the heart in this jar, you know, beating like crazy. And this guy came up to me afterward and he said, "I really liked your talk." He says, "A lot of interesting stuff." He said, "My friend and I are having a little argument about that heart that was beating in there." And I say it was a dog heart. My friend says it was a human heart. I said, "Well, your friend is right." I explain again, we had permission to take this out. "That was a human heart," he says. I said, "Yes." He said, "God help us." And he walked away. So I'm thinking, maybe Virginia is not ready yet for that stuff. But in general, you know, the environment was pretty good.
So now this is in '65. You're not far away from some pretty momentous things there.
What I can remember was over in the old E.G. Williams Hospital. I had an accident victim on a ventilator, no brain activity. The potential recipient was a man in his, I think his mid-40s, who had a massive MI. He was in cardiogenic shock. They were pouring the stuff in, trying to keep him going, and it looked like the perfect situation, except for one factor, which was ABO incompatibility. So it didn't seem like a smart thing to, you know, do your first one, because everybody's going to say, "Well, you idiot, you know, it couldn't possibly work." Turned out later on in the kidney experience worldwide, that once in a while you got away with an ABO mismatch, but not very often. Anyway, so we said, well, why don't we wait till it's a little better.
How close did you come on that one?
Well, pretty close, right up to when the blood bank called and said it's ABO incompatible. I mean, we were ready to go.
Were you aware at that time that there were others interested? Well, obviously Shumway.
Yeah.
But you were aware that there were other teams getting ready?
No, it was generally assumed that it would either be at Stanford or at MCV that we'd do it.
Would you talk with Norm about it?
Oh yeah, sure.
What did he say
And,
at the time? What was his reaction?
You know, go for it. I don't think he, you know, was that. I don't think there was much concern about, you know, this being first thing.
I see.
I think it was more, let's get it done. I mean, we can get lots of grant money, and you know, let's prove that if there are any skeptics out there, they're wrong.